Jordan, a few weeks ago, you celebrated your 1000th NHL game. Your wife, Lauren, narrated a video that the Kraken helped put together. Give me your emotion that was, coursing through your body at that point when you have that big celebration and you hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one for loving the spotlight, so it was a bit uncomfortable, but I've been through a couple, and I think as I got closer to it and started to realize the magnitude, not only just for me, but for my family, a lot of people that came who supported me, and that was that was very special. So, it was, the Kraken did an amazing job. They definitely, went over the top, and having obviously my family there was great too. So, they've treated me very well.
Yeah, so when you have a ceremony like that, you said not one for the spotlight. Are you nervous too at the same time?
I don't know if I'm nervous. It's just you just feel a bit uneasy. I think and then I mean the magnitude of that game against the Washington too is, I mean, the last two really. So it's I kind of just wanted to get right to the game and get playing. And as soon as you get out there and you start moving, things fall apart to the side.
Where's your silver stick now?
It is just at home. Yeah, I'm sure I'll take it back to Calgary in the summer. But yeah, I'm definitely very proud of that. I think when you come into the league, you don't expect to play 1,000 games. It just kind of builds as you try to be as consistent as possible and stay in the league, and then hopefully eventually get there.
How relieved were you to celebrate that 1000 in a Kraken uniform? I know you kind of get close to the trade deadline and you're in the last year of your deal. You want to stay and you'd verbalize that you wanted to stay in Seattle, but maybe not quite sure that it's going to all come together for you. You could have, been at 998 or 997, whatever it might have been, and potentially playing in another uniform. Did that cross your mind?
Not really, to be honest. It wouldn't have bothered me if I had gone another team and done it a different way. That wasn't in my mind. My mind was just trying to figure out how to get a deal done and be fair. And ultimately, like I said, I expressed I wanted to stay. My family loved it here. And I truly believe that we have some good pieces here. So, ultimately that the 1,000 game though really didn't go into my decision. It had more other factors.
Sure. In wanting to come back, you mentioned your family loves it there and you like what you're seeing in terms of the pieces coming together. What else was, if anything, pulling you to stay? Like, what was your thought process in wanting to remain a Kraken?
Well, I think for me personally, my game, I like the style of game we play here. I think it suits me. I've learned to play it. I think, last year's playoff run was a big indicator that we do have some good pieces. Obviously didn't go the way we wanted this year, but I still think we do have some good pieces, and I believe in what Ron's doing here, and I wanted to be a part of that. So, there was a lot of factors that went into it. I think you try and weigh both sides going into it if you want to go to a different team or here, and ultimately this is what I went with.
So you said style that you play in Seattle, is it different than other teams? Like, how would you describe it? Why does it suit you?
I like the fast pace that we play. I think when you've played for a team for a few years, you can kind of you know what to expect, especially with you've played with certain guys. Matty Beniers, who I've played with the last couple of years. You gain chemistry with guys like him, McCann, and I always go with the grass is not always greener, and I think I found a good suit here, and I didn't want to mix that up.
Don't bleep with happy, I guess, is what people say. When you look at this year and the way that it's unfolded, that playoff run last year, exhilarating, the game sevens. Why do you think things haven't worked out this year? Can you put your finger on it?
I mean, you could go through a lot of excuses. You could talk about injuries, guys getting whatever it may be throughout the year. But I think at the end of the day, we've just blown too many leads. We've especially as of late. I mean, we blew a late goal in Vegas the other night. We blew a tie in Arizona. We've consistently done that all year, and we need to find a way to fix that. But I think for me, at the end of the day, like I said, I think we have a lot of good pieces here. I think we're hopefully on the verge of being a playoff team every year, and I think I would love to. And it's been fun for me to be a part of the Kraken organization from day one. I think that's been kind of a neat experience for me.
Is there an element of unfinished business to that too? Like you start something kind of from the ground up and you sign on for two more years because you want to see what the next level that you can get to is?
No, absolutely. I think that was a huge part of it too. I think I didn't know how this experience would go from the expansion draft on, and it's been a lot of fun being a part of that. I think a big reason is that I got a taste of what it was like to play in the playoffs here last year. So, I want to be someone who can help turn this into the right way and continuously have success like we did last year.
How has the market in Seattle taken to your team?
You know what? From day one, even though obviously a record 2 years ago wasn't very good, we sold out every game. The fans, I'm not sure what the season tickets were right off the bat, but they were high. Jersey shows and everything. It seemed like they had a passion. I think Seattle sports teams with the Seahawks and the Mariners. I mean, they've in my mind it is a sports city. So I think bringing hockey here was the right play. I've always said that to build a fan base, I mean, you got to win hockey games. You got to show these people what playoffs is like. We got a chance to do that, but they were supporting us from year one. So that building is loud. It's beautiful. It's a fun place to play.
Is there any different feel being with an expansion team, just from a pure? It sounds funny to say, but history perspective. Like you start in Edmonton. They've got a ton of banners there, franchise icons. You go to the island, same kind of thing, albeit different. Both teams have had tons of success, 4 or 5 Stanley Cups. And you go to Seattle where there's really none of that. The only banner hanging was the number 32 for being the 32nd franchise. Just the history component, as someone that has been around the game a long time, what's it like to be part of a team that's writing its own history from the beginning?
No, it is definitely weird. Like growing up, I didn't dream of playing. I was be on the Seattle Kraken. They didn't exist. So when you first go to a franchise, I'm sure Vegas felt the same way. I think the biggest thing is you just want to establish yourself first. You want to feel like you're part of the NHL because really from day one, you're wearing a different jersey, different color. It feels weird. But I think 3 years in, I feel like we've done that already. Yeah, I know Vegas has obviously won the Stanley Cup. We had a good run last year. I think you try and just gain respect to the other organizations. And I want to say that we've done that to this point.
Growing up in Regina, you're kind of a free agent in terms of NHL fandom. What was your squad growing up?
My squad growing up was actually the Oilers, and I was lucky enough to play there. Obviously, my first 7 years. So that was Saskatchewan. Yeah, I mean, I would say I know a lot of Oilers fans. I know a lot of Leafs fans. I mean, there's probably multiple. But those two for me are the biggest ones.
So let's talk about the Oilers briefly, just because I wanted to revisit 2017, and it actually has, I don't know, oddly enough, bothered me in terms of the narrative that existed when you were one of the sort of cast off after a tough playoff run in 2017. This idea that, Jordan Eberle can't play in the playoffs. And I just for curiosity, 63 games played since leaving Edmonton in the playoffs, 19 goals and 45 points. That actually outpaces your numbers in your career in the regular season. Did you, when you heard some of that stuff, does it bother you?
Oh, no question. I mean, it took me 6 years or 7 years to get to the playoffs. And I mean, I had been around obviously when the Oilers went through their run. I believe it was in 05, 04.
06, yeah.
06, that was right. I was mixing in Calgary up in the lockout. But and I remember seeing the city of Edmonton and how it was, and I played with a lot of guys who were on the team, and that was like my biggest goal was just to get to the playoffs and experience that. We finally did, and then I almost was overexcited. I think maybe stepped out of my character a little bit in the way that I was playing and running around trying to hit and using high. And my game is all about thinking and skill and being poised. And I think it just took me a little bit of time to figure out how to play in the playoffs. And then I knew when I got the opportunity in Long Island, I wasn't gonna let this take it for granted. And I definitely wanted to prove some of that wrong. And I mean, playoffs is the best time to play. It's when, I mean, all the chips are dead. It's a blast. It's why you play. And yeah, to get a chance to do it, a few times in Long Island here and try hopefully reverse that narrative. I still hope I have some more to do.
Yeah, I can't believe that was something that was hung on you. I mean, you've had been a clutch player going back to whatever stage you had played on. World Junior, everyone remembers, but man, narratives, I don't know, for whatever reason, you've done a good job dispelling that. But take me to playoffs, though, and being a playoff player, everything ratchets up. Emotion, stakes, some say speed. You said it took you a while to learn how to be a playoff player. What is different for you when you get to the postseason?
Well, I think that was the biggest thing for me, is to continue what I was doing. I think for me, I felt like I got out of my comfort zone. I was trying to work too hard. I was trying to, hit everything that moved and not really play my game. I think for me, the biggest thing when you go into the playoffs for a guy like me in the way I game is competing, is just trying to up your battle level, winning your one-on-one battles and your stick battles and that sort of thing. And, but you still want to play with a sense of what got you there. For me, it's poise and using my brain and thinking. And I felt like early on I was just too excited to get there, and I played a game that I wasn't accustomed to. So, but I've learned as I've gotten older. I'm sure other guys have gone through this before, and it took me a little bit of time.
So 1,000 games in, you turn 34 in May. You've been the model of consistency, but are you a different player now than when you started?
I like to think so, yeah. I think coming in, I was known as obviously an offensive guy as soon as I stepped into the league. I like to think that in my time in Long Island with under Barry and Lou, I had to learn to play a little bit more of a 200-foot game, worry about as a winger making wall plays and advancing the puck in our direction, and not so much cheating for offense, but just being a sound 200-foot player with details. And I like to think as I've gotten older, that's still in my game and it's grown, and my 200 winger making wall plays, that sort of thing has gotten better. So for me, that's what winning hockey, and I had to learn how to do that. And those two, for example, are a big reason why.
How do you pass that on to some of the younger guys that you now have joining you in Seattle?
Well, the unique thing with Matty is, especially that I think about him, he talks about his comparables and guys. I mean, guys come in now, they want to be McDavid, they want to be McKinnon. He talks about Patrice Bergeron and 200-foot game, which is really rare to see for me as a young kid. He works on his face-offs, and I think maybe him being from Boston, that's who he looked up to. But I think I wasn't, I know at his age, not thinking about that. I was thinking about other things, and to see that in his game or at a young age is impressive.
So let's put a bow on this conversation. You mentioned how sometimes, you grow, you get older, your perspective changes. After all that you've accomplished, when you go to train this summer for, the next 2 years that you have in front of you with the Seattle Kraken, what's going to drive Jordan Eberle?
Oh, it's the same thing that's been driving me my whole life. I think it grows as you get older, even, is just, winning, getting to the Stanley Cup. And for me, a big reason was to be part of the groundwork from here on. I think is special, makes you feel good, and hopefully you can get to that and make you feel that much more.
Jordan, congrats on your new deal. Congrats on 1,000 games. Looking forward to seeing you at the rink. All the best.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate having me.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.